It's the first Sunday of the NBA season, so we want to see what we can do to win our first fantasy matchup. Michael Bolton's got all the keys.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I've been woken up inside. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. Also, your favorite team and your favorite podcast has a newsletter. Go to LockedOnDaily.com to get all of the information on your favorite team. Subscribe over there. You get information from me around the league, plus all the stuff on your favorite team. Of course, you're hitting the thumb here, you're double banging, and you're leaving your comments down below. What we usually do on the Sunday look-ahead show, a little bit different structure to the other preview shows because we're just trying to focus in on Sunday. And if you're in a category league, what you want to do is, like, what categories do I need? Like, that's what we're looking at. We're still looking long-term with stuff. We're still looking at where the options open up for longer-term value. But we're looking for specific categories. So this is the way that we do it. We look at other stream options on the other days and overall values and what we're watching for and all that sort of stuff. On Sundays, it's like bang, 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 bang. These are the individual players for individual categories, for Yahoo points, for ESPN points as well. The guys that we might be having a crack at to see where it goes. Now, there are only 5 games on Sunday as well, so be aware of that. So it's not like it's a big slate of games, and there's going to be a lot of names that repeat right across the board here. Before we do that, we will just look at the way the schedule shakes out to start things off, because again, that can give us a nice little sort of introduction to the week. And if you add somebody who plays Sunday, but then they also play Monday, it's a free extra game if you've got that open spot on Monday, so be aware of that. So I've got 6 names here who are worth looking at, who play that back-to-back across the Sunday-Monday combo. Gary Trent, Scoot Henderson, Andrew Nembhard, Toumani Camara, DeAndre Hunter, and TJ McConnell. Now, Hunter was obviously awesome in the last game. I don't really trust him to do that, but his minutes should be relatively secure. Scoot Henderson, I think, should be rostered anyway, but there's some other options here that will be useful enough for you to look at that Sunday-Monday back-to-back combination. If we want to get chunky with it and look at the next 5 days, Sunday through Thursday, I've got another 6 names here with 3 games in those next 5 nights. If you're looking for that little short-term bump, we've got Jeremy Sohan on that list, Dennis Schroeder, who's getting a lot more shots, way more than I expected in Brooklyn, Gary Trent, Scoot Henderson, Andrew Nembhard, and Andrew Wiggins, the Canadian Andrews, both down at the bottom there. The Warriors are in an interesting spot. They've only got 3 games for the week, but they've got 3 games in the next 5 nights, including Sunday. So there is that little bit of value there in those players. And these guys are available in certain areas of leagues. These are all over 50% available across Yahoo, which is a good indication that for a lot of you, these guys will be there and available for you to have a look at and maybe take advantage of that 3-game in 5-night situation that they do have coming up for them. Now, we're going to take a look at streaming. Really quick this show. I don't think it's going to be a super long one, but that's okay. That's what she said. Let's take a look at the streams of the day. I think Gary Trent does profile, as much as I don't love Gary Trent as a fantasy player, for a 10-team league. The fact that he's going to play probably 35 minutes, he's also got the back-to-back advantage. He might get you 2 steals and 3 threes and luck into 14 points and a rebound or something like that. But he is a guy that I look at there in 12-teamers. If we go down, for 10-teamers, if we go down to 12, I think Caleb Martin, there's going to be a lot of minutes there available for him. And then in 14-teamers, Kyle Lowry, who replaced Eric Gordon in the starting lineup. Lowry's first 2 games have been good. Right, I'm working on the assumption here that Embiid and Paul George aren't playing, obviously. Kyle Lowry's been pretty good those first 2 games. And then for 16-teamers, widely available as well, Toumani Camara, who's going to start. He wasn't as good in Game 2 as he was in Game 1, and I don't think that he's all that much useful for shallower formats. But 14s and 16s, Kamara's there. If you're in a Yahoo points league or an ESPN points league, the guy that's available in over 50% of leagues still is Andre Drummond. Now, you'll notice a lot of 6s there. There's Lowry, there's Martin, there's Drummond. They play 2 games next week, and they don't start until Wednesday. So the value of these players drops off significantly after Sunday. So you're not holding a Lowry or a Martin. Drummond you probably do, but it's not a very good week for it because there's just no game Monday, Tuesday, and there's only 2 games for them the entirety of the week. So that's not, obviously, you're pretty smart. That's not a good situation for it. Let's take a look if you are in a Yahoo Points League. I'll give you 6 names, including 2 that are available in a lot of leagues that are going to be interesting for you to have a look to try and get that extra boost on Sunday. We're talking 6s, a lot of this here. Andre Drummond, Kelly Oubre Jr. These are all 50% plus available. Dennis Schroeder is available everywhere as well. Ben Simmons, and we talked in the earlier Week 2 preview show about the Nets having a really, really strong schedule next week also. So the addition of Schroeder, the addition of Simmons, although there is a back-to-back, so he probably sits one of those, Benny, there's some real value in that. The guys that are available everywhere for Yahoo Points Leagues, Caleb Martin and DeAndre Hunter, they're both over 80% available. So if you see those guys around, absolutely worth having a look at that for Sunday's games. Like we said with Martin, there's only 2 games the next week, so it doesn't look as appealing, but still, there's value. On the ESPN Points League side of things, it's basically the same names that the order is slightly shuffled. We're talking Andre Drummond, Dennis Schroeder, Ben Simmons, Kelly Oubre Jr., and then the deeper ones there, we're going into Caleb Martin and DeAndre Hunter. Again, relatively straightforward streaming options there with the 5 games on. These guys are all available in a lot of leagues, though, so I do think you're going to have that ability to do that. We're going to come back in a sec and talk about category leagues and streaming for individual categories as well, so stick around for that. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle all of the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can place a $5 bet and win your $5 bet and get $150 in bonus bets. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place live bets on the NFL. When you've got a hunch in the middle of the game and you open up that app, you can see what you're seeing on the screen. You can match it up to the live play-by-play, you can match it up to the live stats, and it's all on the same place that you would place your bets. So you go across to FanDuel.com right now, you join, and you get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Go to FanDuel.com and never waste a hunch and make every moment more on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, so we're talking more streaming now, and we're going to look at this from a category league perspective. We're going to cover the major fantasy categories and the guys that are going to be available there to help you. These are all over 55% available using our advanced roster metric at Basketball Monster. So I think you're going to find at least one name here that makes sense for you. If you are streaming in to win the points category for Sunday, I think it's got to be DeAndre Hunter. We're looking for usage opportunities. We're looking for minutes opportunities. And Hunter ticks both of those boxes. I think Gary Trent, as much as he might only score 10, 10's okay. It's better than 7. But 35 minutes, might get some extra shots. Yeah, I'm in. Caleb Martin. He might play 40 minutes under Nick Nurse. He played like 37 in the first game off the bench and 33 in the next one as a starter. He's interesting. Lou Dort for the Thunder. Now, Lou Dort is not the most exciting fantasy player. We know this, but 10, 11, 12 points, you're not going to really stumble into a 30-point scorer or even a 20-point scorer, although Hunter obviously has that upside. But if you're getting 12 or 13, it's useful enough. Jordan Hawkins is there. He went absolutely crazy last game for the Pelicans. His first game was pretty good as well. And the opportunities in the 26 to 28 minutes, they're going to be there. So he's a really good points option. And then it does drop off a bit after that. We go to Gershon Yabusele, who gets back up 4 minutes, back up 5 minutes. He might have 10, 11, 12, 14 points, something along those lines, which is okay, right? It's good. It's not blowing us away, but sometimes you just need those little things to tip things in your favor when you're talking about a fantasy matchup. A lot of the names that you stream in for points can also be useful for streaming in for 3-pointers. So like Gary Trent's there, DeAndre Hunter's there, Jordan Hawkins is there, Lou Dort is there. So if you're looking at both of those categories, those guys make a lot of sense. Caleb Martin also on that list as another name that you can take a look at who might hit you 2 or 3 threes. And these guys, like Hawkins has got 6-3 upside. Gary Trent's got 6 threes upside. Lou Dort probably doesn't. He might have 2 to 3 threes. DeAndre Hunter's probably like a 3 threes, 4 threes upside guy. Joe is like a 9 threes upside player. And Caleb Martin's probably a 3 threes upside guy. And those numbers that I just came up with there are non-scientific. I haven't given you the proportion of games that these guys hit those threes, maybe that's a task that I can do at some point to automate those numbers, but I don't know. But in terms of just looking at, like, do you want a bit of safety or do you want to really go the home run hit? Because, Lou Dort will probably get you 2 or 3 threes, but Isaiah Joe could get you 9. But he might only get you 1. He might play 20 minutes while Dort might play 30. And that's like, how far behind are you? How much safety do you need? Are you adding threes in to protect yourself because your opponent's got a high volume 3-point shooter going against you? That's another way that you can attack these. You might not be behind in that category to catch up. You might not just need to give yourself an insulation of three extra triples versus, man, I'm 6 behind. Who do I get that maybe pops me over the edge? And that's a different way of approaching all of that as well. And I think all that sort of strategy stuff is really interesting when we're playing this game. In terms of looking at rebound numbers, there's no real massive rebound guys available. Now, I am not including Yves Missi in these lists because, again, we have to have a cutoff somewhere, and I use it as 45%. And Missi is 50% rostered, according to Basketball Monster. Now, on Yahoo, he's about 19%. So Missi is going to be available. So if he is available in your league, put him at the top of that list. Yves Missi, 6-7 rebounds. Let's see what happens. But if he's gone, which he is in a lot of leagues, we move on to this list. Caleb Martin, a starter, 7 minutes, power forward, 7 minutes, 7 rebound, power forward. Maybe he could get 9. It's possible. Daniel Tice will only probably play 19 minutes, but if Missi gets into foul trouble, maybe you push to 25 on him. Maybe he gets 8. Tamani Kamara, that's one of those ones where it's lower upside, but he should be able to get you 6 most nights. KJ Martin, again, iffy. 12 minutes, 20 minutes. He's a good rebounder, doesn't do much more, but he could get you 6 in 15 minutes. Dorian Finney-Smith, you'd like the minutes upside for Finney-Smith. He's an easy option for 8 to 10 upside in rebounds. He's playing a lot of center as well. And the other one is Isaiah Jackson, who, much like with KJ Martin or even Daniel Tice, these are low minute backup type centers. Although Tice is starting, he is a backup. Jackson, if there's anything that happens to Turner, injury or foul troubles, he could easily pull down 12, but he could also play 14 minutes and get 6. But 6 is still a really good number. So there's upside in chasing a Jackson just in case something weird happens, whereas someone like Caleb Martin or Tamani Kamara probably does cap out at 6 or 7. But you feel security in the floor level that they can bring. If we look at assists, this is why when we talk fantasy drafts, when we talk about the prioritization of stats and the weighting of stats and the way that assists go, it is really hard to find strong assists off the waiver wire. It's really hard. TJ McConnell's a very good assist player, but he might only play 16 minutes. Now, he could have 5 there very easily. So he sits at the top there, and Kyle Lowry is... I would actually put maybe Kyle Lowry even above. He might have 8. Because if he's going to start, he could easily have 8 assists, and that is not easy to find off the wire. And then it's a bunch of maybes. Like Jose Alvarado's played 13 minutes in each of the first 2 games, and I don't really think that his role is going to increase significantly, but maybe he gets 4. DeLon Wright's played 14 minutes in the 2 games as well in Milwaukee. He could get 3 or 4 there easily, but he probably only caps out at 5, and there's minutes concerns. Caleb Martin, he's going to play a lot, but he's not an assist guy, but he still might get you 3. And the other one is Terrence Mann, who's going to play those 29 minutes or so for the Clippers. He could have 5, he could have 4, he could have 6. It's not an easy category to try and influence on a one-day basis. That is why there is that extra value placed onto assist, I believe, when it should be that way in fantasy drafts. Now, the opposite, I believe, is the case for steals, which are a highly variable stat, game by game, week by week, year by year. And there's always going to be a random bloke that you can grab off the wire that can get you 2 to 3 steals without question. Gary Trent is the name you're going to hear continually on this show, but he's going to play a lot of minutes and he can easily get 2 steals. DeLon Wright can get 3 steals in 18 minutes. Caleb Martin, a lot of minutes, might generate 2 there. Javonte Green, unbelievably good defensive player for the Pelicans. They have no forwards really, and he is one of them. And he will play solid minutes. Wouldn't say there's huge steal upside in him, but it's solid enough. The last 2 names, they do have really, really high steal upside. Cason Wallace and Lou Dort. Both these players could get 5 steals, and you wouldn't blink an eye. They could get 1, they could get 0. But you know that there is very high steals upside, and they're both going to play at least 20 minutes. Dort will probably play 29. Wallace will probably play 21, but both of them have sky-high steals upside. If you're really looking to catch up in that category, they are 2 of the better guys there who are, again, very obviously, available in lots of different spots. I'm going to come back to cover blocks and percentages in a sec, But today's episode is also brought to you by the Game Time app. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks. It makes getting the tickets to your favorite events easier. Instead of having to sift through all of the different options, it just picks out the good ones and it shows it to you. And it's just one of the newest innovations that Game Time has. They've got so many different things. They've got the views from your seat that they show you. They've got the all-in pricing, which you can turn on in the app, which shows you the full price of the ticket, including all fees, instead of having to wait until checkout to see that. The lowest price guarantee, the event protection cancellation policy, the views from your seat, a panoramic view of seeing where that seat actually puts you in the arena, stadium, and see what you're going to be seeing when you are at that event. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Okay, so let's get through and finish off the streaming stuff here for Sunday in the NBA. These Sunday streaming shows are usually pretty short and sharp. We're just looking to hit these individual categories. And if we look at blocks, we talk about where do we get the upside. They are also a very variable category in terms of what happens game by game. And Isaiah Jackson can get 5 blocks in 20 minutes. He could get 1 block in 15 minutes also, but there is upside in him. He is an absolutely proven shot blocker. Daniel Tice is going to start. He's going to have a role. He's not a high volume shot blocker, but he's there. Derek Jones Jr. will probably play good minutes, and he might easily get you 2 as a starter. Noah Clowney coming off the bench. Only 16 minutes. It's annoying, but you can get a block from him. Caleb Martin, going to do it just through being there, but his probably upside is 1 block, maybe 2. And Dorian Finney-Smith, I think, had 2 blocks in the last game, and getting 29 minutes a night, being the starting center, however you want to phrase him and Simmons, getting minutes in that position while Claxton ramps himself back up, Finney-Smith does, unbelievably, have some upside to be a value option for you in the blocks category, which won't always be the case. Now let's take a look at field goal percentage. A lot of the same names in the field goal percentage list that are in the blocks list, of course, because those categories are fairly highly correlated. So we look to Isaiah Jackson there. And this takes into consideration percentage and volume, but there's really not many volume guys that are available on the waiver wire. So Isaiah Jackson, KJ Martin, TJ McConnell, who's the weird out-of-position guy here, Obi Toppin, who's a very good field goal percentage player, Kevon Looney, and Aaron Wiggins, also, like TJ McConnell, an out-of-position high field goal percentage option. Again, those guys just aren't really in high supply. Lastly, we look at free throw percentage. Gary Trent and DeAndre Hunter and Jordan Hawkins. These are all really good free throw guys. I'm not going to get a lot of them, but a 2 of 2 night, a 3 of 3 night, it's distinctly possible. Just a little bit to add on to your total numbers for the week for free throws. Lou Dort also has improved to become a pretty good free throw shooter. DeAnthony Melton, even though he's only playing limited minutes, he's a good free throw shooter. And then we get to Isaiah Joe as well, who's an excellent free throw shooter. These are all low volume guys. There's no high volume guys that are available on the wire usually, but those guys are there to be able to help you out, just give you a little bit of extra if you need it to end your matchup and hopefully get the W. And that's it. That is our week, or our Sunday look ahead, our Sunday preview across the NBA, trying to stream in for points leagues, for category leagues, and now you need to get a thumb and you need to double bang. And you need to leave your comments on the show down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.